Of the St. Augustine Port Waterway and Beach Commission, December 19th, 2023. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation. Tom or Linda, would either of you like to provide the invocation?
I'll let Tom go today.
Am I official chaplain now?
You are.
Right. Let's invoke God's blessing on our meeting. Dear Father in heaven, we ask you to be with us, just clear our minds so that we can think and deliberate about ways to increase the safety and the fun that people have on our waterways, and lead us in the right directions. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call.
Commissioner Rivers,
Here.
Commissioner Way,
Here.
Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Thompson,
Here.
Commissioner Bender.
Here.
Next item is adoption and approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any modifications they'd like to make? I would suggest we add under new business a third item. We have two aids to navigation down in Salt Run, so we need to discuss replacing those under new business. Yeah, item C. Otherwise, that would be my only suggested modification. Does anybody else have any?
I agree with that.
We have a motion to approve then as amended. So moved by Commissioner Thompson, second by Commissioner Way. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Public comment? Nope. Government representative comments?
Lieutenant Miller, FWC St. John's. Just a few updates post-storm. The TIV vessel from Salt Run, the Naughty Lady, on anchor, obstructing the channel. We moved that back out of the channel, so they're going through the bid process for removal. So we lost another bridge zone buoy at Bridge Alliance Zone, so east side, kind of more towards your house over there. So Boating and Waterways is tracking on that. They're going to replace all the buoys coming up, and also Day Beacon 11 south of the bridge was navigation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Hello, Commissioners. Carl Blow with the Florida Inland Navigation District. Just briefly to update you on the Fine and Coors project down in the Summer Haven area, where the contractor's moving forward. He's putting the material basically in the breach area. It looks like it's ultimately going to be 500,000 cubic yards. The breach has taken a lot of that material. Other than that, assuming there aren't any problems, the contractor should complete that project probably in early February. It turned out to be, a little over $6 million, which most of it is coming from the federal government, and then a portion of it will come from the Florida Inland Navigation District, which is your tax dollars at work. Other than that, just to let you know, the Florida Inland Navigation District Board meeting for January will be held in St. Augustine. That's going to be on Friday, the 19th, and it will be at that brand new Hyatt hotel over in Delano Beach. You guys should get invitations unless I mess up the list. And of course, everyone's invited. It's a public meeting. Also, the night before, that Thursday night on the 18th, we have what we call our public outreach, which is basically an informal gathering that starts at 6 o'clock. It will also be at the Hyatt. And generally, we have a lot of government representatives there, both elected and staff. And it's your public's opportunity to discuss whatever issues you might have in the intercoastal waterway or any grant ideas you might have. So you're certainly all welcome to that.
Where is that?
That's at that brand new Hyatt Hotel in Volano.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right by your house, Tom.
Yeah, right, you can crawl there. And it's quite an impressive hotel. I had no idea that that
What's
was
that
being.
date once again?
The date for the outreach is Thursday, the 18th. And let's see, other than that, our grant season has started. The fine staff are accepting grant applications. Of course, the deadline is right at the end of March. I believe an email went out to all the local governments announcing the opening of the grant season and the deadlines and so forth. Other than that, there was one thing I wanted to kind of bring up with you, so to speak. DEP, requires an inlet management plan for every inlet in the state of Florida, and they put out an annual report on the inlets in the northeast part of the state. And of course, I'm kind of weird, as you know, but I find it kind of an interesting report. It's a pretty easy read, because it, especially on when they discuss the St. Augustine Inlet as well as Kansas. But anyway, one thing briefly, and Ken, jump in here if I misspeak, but especially for your newer commissioners, what DEP started a number of years ago was when they required these inlet management plans, is basically establish, well, first off, let me back up, is we all know there's sand on the beach. We all know sand kind of moves, and it moves up and down the beach based on storms, whether it's your typical southeast breeze that you get most of the time versus a northeaster, and then of course the tropical storms. But all that activity moves that sand back up and down the beach. And basically what happens wherever you have an inlet, as that sand moves down the beach, the inlet captures the sand. It either captures it at the ebb shoal, which is on the east end of the inlet, offshore, or it catches it in the flood shoal, which is inside the inlet. And of course, as far as the intercoastal waterway is concerned, it works out that our channel tends to run through these flood shoals. So the bulk of our dredging generally is at inlets, wherever the intercoastal waterway intercepts an inlet. And of course, here in St. Augustine, we had the flood shoal, and our channel runs right through the middle of it, and usually generally every 5 years, we have to dredge that section of the intercoastal. And typically, over the years, our permit has had us put that material on the south end of Anastasia State Park. And the thinking there in the inlet management plan is that that's basically sand that has moved from the north, say, and maybe some from the south, but has deposited inside the inlet, and we're basically transferring it on down, say from the north past the inlet to the south end, whereas we all know St. Augustine Beach and the south end of Anastasia Park has always been subject to pretty severe erosion. So the reason I bring this up is if you like, I can email you the latest draft for the 2023 FDEP Inlet Management Plan for Northeast Florida, so you can just you know, like I say, I'm weird, you know, I find it interesting, but being on this board, you might find it interesting as well. So I'll be happy to email that to you. And the reason I'm bringing it up is I'm concerned, and I don't know if Ken agrees with me or not, or, you know, Taylor, because Taylor Engineering basically has done the bulk of the inlet management plans, probably on the East Coast, maybe even on the West Coast of Florida. They certainly have, they did the original plan for the St. Augustine Inlet, and I think you've always done the updates, I believe.
Not all.
Not all of them, but most of them. But anyway, Taylor's knows all about inlet management plans. So if I say something wrong, fix me up. I'm a little concerned because, you know, we have a situation in South Florida at Jupiter where we're having to do more dredging of the intercoastal waterway inside at the inlet, at the Jupiter Inlet. And it's kind of seems like it's because there's been a lot of beach renourishment on the beaches immediately adjacent to the inlet. So fortunately, we've had a lot of beach renourishment here recently, especially north of the inlet. Volano Beach has actually fine in the core. We put material up there between Matthew and Irma when we were doing the intercoastal waterway. But anyway, there's a lot of new sand north of the inlet, and I'm a little worried that we're going to see an increase in the rate of shoaling in not only the flood shoal where the intercoastal waterway channel runs, but perhaps even in Salt Run. So I'm just kind of sounding a little alarm here that that's something that we might want to, you know, be aware of. It could also impact the actual inlet channel as well. We've been very fortunate in the last number of years that we've had a nice, you know, stable inlet channel, partly because the Corps started getting material for primarily St. Augustine Beach out of the inlet channel instead of taking it totally out of the Ebb Shoal. But I think it's, you know, prior to that, we had some real problems in the inlet channel. We had people running aground and, you know, real vessel damage. But anyway, that's just my theory. I just wanted to bounce that off, and if it's okay, I'll email you this DEP report.
that'd be great.
Because it's, you know, it's an easy read. And,
Have you
All right.
seen the sand in Volano?
yeah, well,
It's really high.
well, I tell you where I'm coming from on this. I mean, I you know, grew up here and spent time on these beaches between here and Ponte Vedra, and one thing I remember is that the natural material on the beach was a very coarse coquina. Actually, starting from Ponte Vedra or South Jacks Beach, heading south, it seemed like the closer you got to St. Augustine, the coarser the material. And the material they just put on the beach is obviously beach quality, but they've taken that from, you know, a mile and a half, 2 miles off the coast, and it's kind of, you know, white sandy material, much finer than what I'm used to seeing in the natural state in South Ponte Vedra, and so I'm a little. Hopefully, it'll stay in place, but
The wind blows and it goes.
It was all over my car yesterday. I mean,
Yeah.
I had to wait to
Yeah.
go, but the sand was just,
But don't get me wrong, I'm totally in favor of beach renourishment.
Yeah.
But,
You're in favor
but,
of sand, okay.
but I think that we, you know, hopefully I'm wrong, but we may see an increase in the rate of material moving inside the Augustine Inlet and the Salt Run and the associated tributary. But that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Any other government representatives? No? All y'all back there, nothing to say? All right. That brings us to the Secretary Treasurer's report.
Okay, in our committed funds of the city police law enforcement overtime, we committed $8,000 for fiscal year 23-24. And I just paid a bill for $4,070 of the St. Johns County Sheriff's Department overtime of the $25,000 that was budgeted. We've spent $3,229. Derelict boats is $2,844 was spent of the $25,000 that's committed. We spent $184,000 on 184 was for Dolphin Drive and $100,000 for the walkover. And that takes care of that. In the Florida State Board of Administration Fund A, we have $24,744. In the operating account, we have $549,272, and in the money market account, we have $1,118,000. And then for the tax year, our new tax year that started October 1st, of the taxes budgeted, we budgeted $826,049 for revenue. We've received to date $264,872, and we're expecting $561,177.
Elise, for that city overtime, we're already halfway through our budgeted amount, and we're just a couple months into this fiscal year. Was that all for Regatta of Lights? What was that for?
No, Regatta of Lights, I don't even think I got the bill for Regatta of Lights yet.
Okay.
Oh, unless that was overtime for the
Yeah, that's
Regatta.
what I mean. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good to know. Thank you. Any other questions on the Secretary Treasurer's report? Nothing. That next is the approval of minutes for our November 21st, 2023 meeting. Anybody have any modifications to these minutes?
I move to accept.
Move approval.
No?
I'll second.
Tom moves. Chris seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Engineering report.
Yes, sir. Several updates on projects, some of which have been already touched upon. The Volano South Ponte Vedra shore protection project is just about wrapping up. They are. My understanding is that they're done pumping, so all the material's on the beach. They're probably still shaping some of it, but that will add about 2 million cubic yards to the system, and it extends about 3 miles or so. The county's FEMA berm project, the Crescent Beach section, is wrapping up now. I think they may have finished this week if the county website's up to date. So that's wrapping up, if not already, very soon. Commissioner Blow actually touched on the dredging down by Matanzas Inlet and the material that's going out there. That's being done by Southwinds, and they are ultimately going to dredge about 500,000 cubic yards to get out on the beach there. The St. Augustine Beach Shore Protection Project is on track to start just after the first of the year. Probably right now is scheduled to go through September. And that'll be Great Lakes Dredge and Dock that'll be doing that work for the Army Corps. And then the last thing is the Summer Haven report that the county sponsored was presented to the Board of County Commissioners this morning. About an hour and a half they spent on it between presentations and public comment and commissioners' comments. If I understood, I watched it online, so I'm pretty sure I understood what they're ultimately approved, but they're going to fund an economic study of the different options that were presented. They couched the current study as an engineering study and didn't really factor into the same kinds of things that I think Ms. Ginn has pointed out in the past, that the no action option, there we go, does have costs associated with it, but none of those were calculated as part of this report. So that's going to all be addressed. All the commissioners, they voted 5-0 in favor of continuing that work. So more to come, I guess, down there.
Were there any other interesting things that emerged from that report presentation, or?
They looked
Same
at
as the earlier one.
they looked at a variety of potential options. One, it's things I think we've talked about in the past, whether it's trying to put a seawall up over that entire stretch, which is really problematic to permit. A revetment is also problematic over that entire section. none of those hard structures are going to be permitted by DEP unless there's a large-scale beach nourishment project that goes in first and is shown to not be effective, which, depending on how it's designed, it could be effective. So all those things were discussed and presented in the report. There's copies. I think I had sent a copy of the to Elise a couple months ago when it was first released, but I can send you the final version. So that's it.
Thank you.
I did go to that meeting today.
I'm
and,
sorry?
I said I was there. You didn't see me on the TV.
Oh, no.
But I was there.
Okay.
And my takeaway was the commitment from all 5 commissioners to somehow fix this problem and working with DEP in order to make that happen. That was it was more to me, the commitment that we're going to do something about this, and we're going to have to work with DEP to figure out exactly what that something is, but that they're going to make that commitment. I felt.
Good.
Is that how you felt?
That's certainly the sentiment that I picked up from all of them, that they're not giving up, they're not retreating, and so hopefully there'll be some positive project that will help restore both the beach and the river for a longer-term basis than with the little piecemeal things that have been done up to this point.
Oh, good to hear the county is going to be taking responsibility for that. Oh, Ken, one other question. Is Carl right, or is he nuts? Are we going to see more
He has my
sand
blessing,
and
yes, that was good.
Okay.
That was very well stated.
That's true. Good. Thank you. Any other questions for engineering? No. That brings us to old business. Item A, dredging interlocal agreement with the City of St. Augustine. Mr. Sackard?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Corey Sacker with the City of St. Augustine. As Commissioner Blow alluded to earlier, the Florida Inland Navigation District has recently opened up their Waterways Assistant Grant Program for this coming fiscal year. Traditionally, the city has always partnered with Port and Fine to participate in the Salt Run Dredging Project, which maintains access to the city's only public use boat ramp. Traditionally, we work up the interlocal agreement. I've provided a copy with Clay Meek, and I believe each of the commissioners has a copy of it. Our goal is to have it partially executed today with the port, and then next month I take it to our city commission with the rest of our application where Fine requests a resolution, and of course the match funding, which the port has always been a great partner and presented. So today, for Commissioner Brown's partial execution, I have a copy of this year's interlocal agreement for the project.
Right. We had previously voted to fund this
Yes, it's been,
already, so this is just about executing the agreement at this
yeah,
point.
it was
Right, okay.
previously voted to include it in this year's fiscal budget. For today's purposes, unless there's a dramatic change of heart, it would just be a vote to authorize the chair to execute the formal interlocal.
Right, and if anybody had any particular nits to pick with the wording of the interlocal, I'm imagining nobody does though, right? Okay, great. So in that case, do we have a motion to approve execution of the interlocal agreement for dredging Salt Run?
I'll make the motion.
There's a motion. Do I have a second? Second, Commissioner Bender. All in favor? Aye. Great.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Commissioners.
Corey, before you go, I can't remember. Is the Dolphin Drive dredging, is that done already?
Yes,
Finished?
both the last Salt Run dredging and the Dolphin Drive dredgings were both completed.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good. Next order on old business is update on the Regatta of Lights. Commissioner Thompson.
Right, and so I attended that and was a judge, and that was an experience. I did it last year as well, but the weather was much better this year. It was warmer. Last year was very cold. And last year we actually had some boat that bumped into another boat, you know. This year was very uneventful, which was good. Everybody went around their little route that they were supposed to, and nobody bumped into anybody else. And the Coast Guard didn't have to be called for search and rescue. There were 30 boats in the race, and we were limited in that number. I think they actually had 33 or 34, and I don't know how they decided who wouldn't be in, maybe the last 3 or 4 who applied. But anyway, there were 30 boats in the race, and they were judged by the length of the boat, and then they were judged on their color and their theme and overall, best overall type in each of the different categories. So you had less than 25 feet, more than 25 feet, and then three or four that were commercial. So it was a very good experience. I did get a thank you email from David Patrick, who is the Commodore of the Yacht Club, and he wanted you to know that the website for the Yacht Club has been expanded to include the registration process, a skipper's packet, event details, and a notice board, and the results, and that recommendation came from Port Waterway and Beach. So they did what we asked or suggested. And I think that's that. Oh, they also had a lead boat, a Commodore boat, or a committee boat, rather, who just, kind of drove the route and everybody else followed suit. So it was a very successful event. I should comment that it's his opinion, and I think he's probably right, having been downtown, maybe the police officers could address this. That's got to be the busiest night of the world down there, with all the vehicles, and everybody's excited about looking at the lights, and then the boat, regatta. So it was quite crowded, but it was a good event, very, very positive.
Did Freedom win the big boat?
Freedom, that was the red, white, and
Big
blue
tourist
with
boat.
the flag
Yeah,
on it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I can't remember if it was overall. I can't remember who was best overall. I think best overall was that blue one. The one, and then, you know what I'm talking about? There was.
I'm not sure. You mean the pontoon tourist boat? That was.
No, it was a big sailboat, and it was all in blues, different levels of blues. And it was really, my suggestion to them for next year was that when they do the presentations, they put a slide of each boat up, because from that score sheet, and of course the people who scored didn't even see the boats. So it would be helpful when they make their presentations if they flashed the picture. And then when they said best overall or Freedom, I think Freedom might have won in the commercial. It was in the commercial group, I believe. So anyway, it was a great event.
Very nice. Linda, do you know if they, did they get any private sponsors this year?
They had, not that I know of, they had Port Waterway and Beach and the Tourist Development Council sponsorship banners were hung as usual in the judges' tents, but I think that was it. There were no.
Interesting.
Meehan sent us over a cup of coffee.
Yes, Carl Blow.
Just a quick comment, thank you. Fine, actually, Carl Blow with the Florida Inland Navigation District. Yeah, Fine has, and we've done this for years, we provided $500 a grant to like the Yacht Club for these holiday parades. And right now in St. Johns County, I know we provide $500 for one in Julian Creek. And I'm not sure if we do $500 for the guys in Palm Valley. But the reason I bring it up is our last board meeting, a commissioner from South Florida raised the issue that $500 wasn't enough, that we might want to consider making those $1,000 grants. And then the discussion was there would be an aggregate total for each county. So if you guys want to send me an email saying that $500 is really, because this board has been carrying the heavy load over the years for the holiday parade. So feel free to send me an email suggesting that Fine consider increasing that $500 to $1,000 or whatever, and then I'll have something that I can go back to my fellow board members, because there were several commissioners who responded positively to that idea of increasing that amount at least to $1,000. So just wanted to pass that on.
Carl, do most of the counties do that all over Florida? Have some
Yeah,
sort of
well, I
boat
don't know,
club?
and on our district, in the 12 counties on the East Coast, everybody's got either one or multiple holiday boat parades. And so that's why the discussion, $500 unfortunately doesn't get you very far anymore. So that's
Yeah.
why it came up to maybe doubling that to 1,000.
As a matter of fact, for a recall, we allotted in June, I think it was, 4,500 for the regatta. So the Commodore did ask if he could request to get that check, would you just mail it to him, or how do you do
No,
that?
I need an invoice from them.
Okay, so you need an invoice.
I need an invoice mailed to me. Or
Okay.
emailed is fine.
Okay, I'll tell him.
Good. Any other items on that? No, so that brings us to new business. Item A, reallocation of funds originally designated, for new boardwalk. Russell Adams, Public Works Department.
Yes, the reason Max Royal, City Manager, the reason we're a little bit out of order here is that we have come up with an alternative proposal for you to consider. And I think Elise told me that she had emailed my request to her concerning the parking lot at A Street that we've been trying for years to upgrade. And we wondered if, within your scope of allowable funding, you would consider helping us pay the cost to improve that parking lot. I should add here that, and Mr. Adams is the Assistant Public Works Director, and he will say something about the walkovers that you so generously provided money for. And you have money left over from that project, and we thought perhaps you could reallocate that towards the parking lot. The key question, though, is parking lot improvements for beach visitors an allowable use under your guidelines?
Right. Can you just remind us, you had proposed in the alternative, if we don't allocate it for the parking lot, it would instead potentially go towards Ocean Hammock Park, is that right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a walkway to the beach at Ocean Hammock Park. It needs to be repaired and renovated. And we thought that if you decided you'd rather have your money be allocated to that, then that would be fine. We found out in the initial 2 walkovers we were able to do in this fiscal year, or FY23, the cost of walkovers is really high. It's like $100,000 for each of them, or close to it, depending on the length, of course. So for $200,000, 100 from you, 100 from the city, we were able to construct 2 walkovers at 10th Street and 6th Street. And if you haven't been down to look at them, they're really very good-looking walkovers, which brings up an alternative, a related matter, I should say. We would like to have a ribbon-cutting ceremony for those walkovers, and perhaps a member of the Port Commission could be part of that group to cut the ribbon. I can email Elise and see who among you, the chairman or someone else, would be willing to.
I'm sure we can find somebody to come out to that ceremony. Well, we should discuss this. So perhaps I'll start. When the walkovers were originally proposed, my recollection is that the city of St. Augustine Beach actually came to us with a couple of different proposals. One was beach walkovers, one was improvements to A Street itself, and a third, I think, was parking improvements. And my memory at the time is that we had decided that of those, only the walkovers really fit cleanly within the ambit of what the Port District is meant to be spending money on. In part, my recollection again is that parking was seen as potentially providing benefit and increasing access to the beach, but also providing benefit to the businesses that are right there. You know, people use to take the A Street parking lot as an example. You know, some people are parking there because they're going to the beach, but some people are parking there because they're going to restaurants or bars or what have you. And so that was seen as being too diffuse in terms of our funding mandate. So I personally would be in favor of those 2 options of rolling that money over to use for the Ocean Hammock Park walkways, because that again is sort of more core Port District mandate spending as opposed to the parking lots, but that's just me. I'll,
I agree with you on that. And Clay, is there any guidelines as to whether, I mean, can we rule out supplying money for parking lots? I mean, is that like off our charter?
There is some very expansive language under section 4B of the charter, which indicates that the commission does have the power, and I'm parsing out the more pertinent words, maintain, conduct, operate, build, or equip. Last part of it. Improvements and facilities which the commission may determine to be necessary and in connection with the operation or improvement of the district. As an attorney with those languages, that creates a very, very large umbrella that if you were inclined and felt it was within the port's wheelhouse, I think you could get the camel's nose under that tent. That's
Typical
separate-
lawyer muddle. I got you.
Yeah, but that's separate and apart from the chairman's concerns about whether that is what
Yeah.
the commission wishes to be in their wheelhouse. So I think the commission has the power in this circumstance to do whatever the commission decides it wishes to do.
Well, I agree with Chairman Brown on that as far as of those three options. I would put the parking lot improvements in third place myself.
what is the amount left over? Dollar amount?
87,000.
87,000.
Wow.
Okay, right. Any other?
Sorry, 80,000 rather, 80.
Okay.
80,000.
Around 80,000, sounds like,
Okay.
okay.
And what was, one is the Ocean Hammock Park and the parking lot, and what was the other one?
One is Ocean Hammock Park, and the other is the parking lot at A Street. Those are the only two options. Sorry, I brought up the three options. That was a previous presentation and ask.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
just
okay.
relying on
So we're down
kind
to
of
two,
prior discussion, yeah.
and the parking lot is number two.
The parking lot is the main ask, yeah, but in the alternative, it would be improvements to the boardwalk at Ocean Hammock Park.
Got it.
In effect, we'd be asking you to reallocate the remaining amount of money toward the boardwalk
Right.
repairs.
I also like that that is still money going to boardwalks and walkovers, kind of.
Max, are the new walkovers, are they all using composite or is it still just wood, pressure
We'll ask
treated?
the Public Works Director, Assistant.
Assistant Public Works Director. The railing and the board, the running boards are composite.
And then it's just pressure treated stringers and everything?
Those, yeah, okay.
They're running about $100 a square foot is what.
Yeah. It's expensive, I know, but it'll last a lot longer.
These are some of the, I believe this is 6th Street here. We were able to ramp 6th Street based on the elevations. So that one is a ramped boardwalk. And then we also did 10th Street as well. And 10th Street was unfortunately not able to be ramped because of the elevation of the dune. So in July, we asked for the money from Port and Water I had $190,000 for that allocation. But in our budget, the city's budget, the commission approved $100,000 in matching funds. So with that, the priorities were 10th Street and 6th Street. We would have liked to have done C Street and E Street in addition to that, but the funding didn't work out that way. In our budget, we also had an additional $25,000 budgeted for an evaluation of the Ocean Hammock Park Boardwalk and minor repairs based on how much money was left over after the evaluation. That boardwalk was initially constructed in 2009, and I don't want to put a bunch of money into it without getting some kind of evaluation done first, before we ask for any kind of grant funding or additional funding for that. I just want to see what's there and really get a true evaluation of what kind of repairs need to be done. The handrails are pretty obvious. Those can be stuff that we can do internally now, but long-term, I want to see how much more life that boardwalk has. So that's where it's coming from.
Mr. Chair, if I could just, to assist the commission in framing the question, in essence, you kind of do have a third option. Technically, what the port has obligated itself to do is matching funds of a certain amount for a certain project. To the extent the city does not utilize the matching funds for that project, the port would not be obligated, the money would essentially, the obligation would end, would be another option in addition to shifting it to one of these other two projects. So in a way, you do have the three options.
I think that's what happened last year, I believe, is that we didn't actually use the money that was asked, the full amount that was asked for.
Well, so it sounds like you're not even entirely sure what Ocean Hammock is going to require at this point.
The 25,000 was initially for an evaluation and some minor repairs to be done to the boardwalk, yes. So I don't know what extent, without getting some kind of, test done with the structure itself, or evaluation of the structure itself, I don't know what else is going to be required for that boardwalk to be maintained or repaired.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Is this a city asking for us to approve allocating money to provide a match to pay for improvements to the parking lot between A and First Street? This is according to the email that Mr. Royal sent us along the west side of A1A Beach Boulevard. So that's the statement that was in the email. So it sounds like the city preference is for us to approve the allocation of the money for the parking. Is that correct?
That was the initial question, is that within the board's purview? And if not, then my request was to allocate the
For
additional
the sake
funding.
of discussion, I'll make a motion that we approve allocating money to provide a match to pay for improvements to the parking lot between A and First Streets along the west side of A1A Beach Boulevard. That's my motion.
Any other discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, the second?
Oh, sorry, was there a second? Yeah. All right, so motion dies for lack of a second. So the options that remain then would be Ocean Hammock or reclaw that money. It sounds a bit though like y'all aren't quite ready to spend money on Ocean Hammock because you don't know what you need to spend. Is that right?
We do have the $25,000 in the budget for an evaluation.
Right, that's
and
going
minor
forward, but
repair.
another $80,000, you don't know
Well,
what.
matching funds up to $25,000 is the ask.
Okay, so then, no matter what, then $55,000 would be coming back our way.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
So, in that case, is there a motion to match, of the 80,000 left over from our original boardwalk bequest, is there a motion to give 25,000 of that to match the city's funds for Ocean Hammock Park?
Is that, I mean, if they take the 25,000, that's to do a study on what needs to be done?
It's
to
not
it?
necessarily just the study. It would be the repairs. We did get one estimate at around $15,000 from one engineering firm, but that's just the, yeah.
My only concern is just spending money on a
On a study?
consulting fee.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand.
I'd rather the money go hard to
Repairs.
do whatever it is
Yeah.
that would be repaired. I wouldn't want
could-
to spend it on a study.
It's, yeah, if we, depending on how we do that, I guess we could allocate the budgeted amount that we have towards the study, and then anything remaining would go towards, any repairs that were done towards the boardwalk.
I'd go along with that.
Jason Sparks, city engineer, St. Augustine Beach. What Russ and I had talked about in the past was completing this structural evaluation, if you will, of all the understructure beneath the wood and all. But just based on the little bit of time we spent with a timber inspector out in the field, we indicated at least like the handrails need to be replaced. And that little bit above and beyond that Russ is talking about spending could probably replace the handrails. There's some splinters, and we've talked with risk management about that, and each one of those is just a payment for someone.
Yeah,
Here,
yeah, I can see that.
the original ramped boardwalk that was there is, the dune has obviously come in and sand has caused some deterioration of the boardwalk, but,
It looks like you replaced it with composite on the walkway, is that correct?
the walkway was always composite.
Always
When this was
composite.
designed, it was composite, yes, sir.
You just want to put a composite cap.
Yes,
We
exactly.
end up
Yeah.
doing that with this additional funding. That's really all I wanted to say.
Mr. Chair, if I could suggest perhaps it might be cleaner both for now and the future, since it doesn't sound like it's going to be an exact dollar for dollar, perhaps a commissioner could make a motion to accept what I understand to be the city's proposal to end any further funding of the beach walkovers, to have a hard period stop to that. Just in the odd event that their city commission might revisit the matter in the next 3 months and come up with new funding, if we haven't formally ended that additional 80-something thousand, there's potentially a question there. And then move on to the next question of, does the commission wish to do matching funds for any new project? So if the commission is so inclined, I think it's cleanest to have a motion to accept the city's proposal to end any further funding for the walkovers.
That makes sense. Do I have such a motion?
I'll move.
So moved.
I'll second.
Seconds, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And now, a motion to potentially match the approximately $25,000 for Ocean Hammock, provided that that $25,000 is not all wasted on wasted. Sorry
Yeah, I
to say
understand.
wasted to an engineer, but, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So
I'll
moved
make
by
that
Commissioner Way.
Second.
I'm sorry, second Commissioner Bender, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None, motion passes unanimously, so.
Great, thank you all very much.
Got your matching
again for
funds, thank you.
helping out with the boardwalks, I appreciate it.
So last bit of new business then is going to be, we have 2 channel markers, I believe number 8 and 13 down in Salt Run. Our process for replacing them has, in the last couple of years, just been to ask Chris to make some phone calls. I think we probably need to
I
do
can
that
do that.
again.
I can call Yelton. Actually, Yelton is right there. They're on Inlet Drive. And I'll call him and see what he would charge and then how soon he could do it. But with his barge there, I think he could probably do it pretty quickly.
Do we recall what the, because my recollection, is that traditionally what we will do is just approve a provisional amount to spend on
I
it.
think the last time he did it for $1,000, I think that was the one down towards Carl. That wasn't it? Well, I'll call Yelton and email Elise, and then she can send it to everybody, and then we decide how we want to go about it. But I know Yelton is just a few doors down from my house right now, putting in a dock. So, the whole cost of the thing is moving the barge.
Mobilization, yeah.
To the extent the commission desires to have this dealt with before the next commission meeting, I think your best practice would be to come up with whatever you think an appropriate ceiling amount would be and authorize that prospectively.
Right.
Because
And-
you can't take the vote outside of the commission meeting of, do we want to approve this or not? It would just be come up with a ceiling. And to the extent it sounds like we wish to do this urgently and not look at getting bids for anyone, it's my understanding, and certainly commissioners can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it is viewed by the port as being an imminent danger to the health or welfare of the constituency and/or a threat of deterioration of a critical service of the Port Authority, is why it's being dealt with in this manner.
And what were the marker numbers again?
I believe it's 8 and 13, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, I will call Yelton Construction, see what they can do.
It's been a minute since we've put one in, so I don't remember what the cost was the last few times. I agree, Carl, that 1,000 sounds low.
Where,
Mr. Sackard?
Corey Sackard, City of St. Augustine. If the commission remembers, a few years back, the city went ahead and actually solicited for piers and stuff, and fortunately, our contractor has kept their cost schedule static for the last 3 years. So speaking with Eric, our cost for the City of St. Augustine, we're looking at $7,500 per piling. It's about 14 inches wide by 40 foot long. That includes mobilization and installation, but I don't remember how much Commissioner Way was able to
yeah, I'm looking right now just to see if that was in a text message from him a while back, but I don't see it anywhere. But I'll find out and I'll email Elise what.
Still need to come up with a provisional dollar amount, though.
Yeah.
Mr. Blow?
Carl Blow, citizen, with free advice. You're right, or Chris is right, or Commissioner Way is right. They're working on a dock right now, right there. And they may have some piling that aren't, that are from the dock that they removed, which were perfectly good piling. So,
I think those were concrete though, Carl.
well, I thought I saw a bunch of wood ones.
Because
piled.
that was.
Maybe they were the new ones, but
Yeah,
anyway.
that was Fred Cohen's house. That was all concrete.
That was all kind of, anyway, I was just gonna suggest you might, here again, $7,500 sounds a little high. Maybe if you gave Commissioner Way a number that, somewhere in between that, and he was able to communicate with Yelton that this is all I've got, that might be acceptable to Yelton since he's already there, because as you guys discussed, it's the mobility that eats them up. So, maybe a number between, 1,000's too low, 75 is, I
still a
think you
big
might be
range.
able to get it.
Well, let me ask you this. I don't know
How
if
hard
this
can
is,
you twist his arm?
I don't know if this is conventional or not, but I mean, if you've got a minute, I'll call him right now and put him on speakerphone and see what he says.
I have no problem with that. Anybody else?
That-
It doesn't have-
anything
you don't
wrong
have
with
to
that?
put it- you don't have to put him on speakerphone.
Just,
if,
yeah, if you're going to put him on speakerphone, let him know you're doing it before
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But otherwise, it's,
The other issue is whether the actual signs can be reused too. I don't know.
Yeah,
if the
Eric
laws-
pulled them out, but Corey, do you know? He probably already junked them. Or
Yeah, but even if that's in doubt, if the pile's there, having him come back with just an outboard and attach the sign.
Yeah.
That's not
Well, anyway, I call him, because,
Yeah.
I mean, he may be, you may get it's Christmas, you may get a good deal.
thank you, Carl.
It's worth a shot. Hey Herb, how you doing? Good. Hey Herb, I'm in the Portland Waterway meeting, and we discovered there are two markers down in Salt Run. And you guys are still at Fred Cohn's house, correct? Is that something you guys can do just before you leave there, or, and replace those two piles? And if so, what would you got a ballpark figure on what it would cost to do that? Okay. All right, well, let me, I'll discuss that with the board, and then, I'll let you know, and then let me know when you can do it. How much longer are you gonna be there? Okay, all right. Okay, I'll let them know. All right, thanks, Herb. He said about $2,500 apiece, $5,000 to do it, and he's gonna be at that location for another 10 days or 2 weeks, depending on weather, so.
Great. So maybe we should think about authorizing slightly more than that, just in case you can't get quite to that figure. Maybe.
Well, I think I would just say, let's do it at the 5,000.
All right,
Say,
okay.
"Here, we got your money, we'll go put them in."
Okay.
Exceed 5,000.
So do I have a motion to authorize Commissioner Way to contract with Yelton not to exceed $5,000 to replace those two channel markers in Salt Run?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Bender, seconded by Commissioner Rivers. All in favor? Aye.
Question, does that include that we're going to have to get another marker sign?
We got one sign was salvageable
Well,
apparently.
that figure is to set the two piles.
Okay,
I mean,
all
that,
right.
that's the hard
So we'll
part.
have to worry about that.
If
Right.
we gotta go back and say, hey, we got two signs we had to have made, can you go put them up? Well, you're gonna charge us for that.
Gotcha.
Good. Well, there being no other business, we have public comment again. Does Carl Blow, public citizen, want to come comment? No. Comments by commissioners? Tom?
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah, say the same.
Yeah, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Good. And then the last thing we do,
Yeah,
we don't
16.
have the 2024 calendar. Oh, we do. January 16th, you said?
Yeah.
Will be our next regular meeting here at 3 p.m. There being no other business, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I missed